Success stories and interviews with game changers and thought leaders who have overcome both in life and in business. Welcome to Vertical Momentum.
Hey guys, check out the new episode, the new podcast. Appreciate you guys. Just remember, if you guys want a podcast, there's no better way to do it than Anchor. Number one, it's free. Everybody loves free. Free. And then you can also record and edit your podcast right here and not have to go anywhere else. And Anchor will also distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. So guys, definitely, if you're looking to podcast, use Anchor. Love you guys.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Vertical Momentum. My name is Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. I'm having an amazing Friday night. Guys, this is going to be a great episode. First, I want to thank our sponsors for the evening, DisgruntledVets.com. They are one of the largest organizations in the world that helps veterans. So check them out at DisgruntledVeterans.com. Guys, this is going to be a great episode. I just met a new friend. His name is Chris Lane. He's done some amazing things in uniform, now even better things out of uniform. And guys, if you love hockey, you need to listen to this episode, get a pen and paper, and start writing some stuff down because this is going to be fun. Chris, my brother, what is up?
Happy to be here. Really thankful for the opportunity to talk to you. Just kind of have a little one-on-one and enjoy a cup of coffee with you.
Yeah, that's the way I like to do it. I like to hang out. I love talking to people, especially about stuff that I don't know about. I love learning. I found me and you, we had a couple things in common. Both like Pokemon, which is, I was just actually, before I got on, I was actually trying to catch some Pokemon before we got on here. So I'm just a big kid myself. And
nothing wrong with that.
No, you got to have a kid's heart. Life is too short to not have fun. A
little bit of bubble gum for the brain, kind of get your mind more serious.
Yeah, definitely. So now, tell us where you're originally from, and what kind of little kid was Chris? Your phone probably went to lock, so you have to make sure your phone stays unlocked.
Oh, hey, So I'm originally from Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's a small island on the Cape Ann portion of Massachusetts. So just Boston, right on the water. It's a beautiful area for anybody that is thinking about going and traveling up towards Boston.
The fishing vessels go out of?
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, the movie
The Perfect Storm?
It takes place in my hometown. Exactly.
One of my favorite movies of all time. I'll watch it every time that it's on.
Yeah, it's a movie, but it talks about, the fishing industry and how it's been slowly regulated out of existence, sadly. So a lot of people in my family have been, making their livelihood off the ocean. In fact, there's actually a little part of Gloucester called Lanesville, and it's actually named great ancestors who was the first person to set up a general store in that area. So they called it Lanesville. He came down due south from Maine because Native had killed his father, mother, and their brothers and stuff. Sailed due south. They landed on the northern part of that little peninsula, and they've been there for 500 years. I kid you not, 500 years. My family has been living in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and I'm the first person to leave Massachusetts. 500 years.
So growing up in that little town, what was little Chris like?
Well, I did a lot of things, and I love fishing, obviously. working on vehicles. I like taking things apart, putting them back together. Very inquisitive mind, I think it's fair to say. As I grew up and got older, I admittedly, but every teenager gets their fair share of trouble or anything, too bad, I don't think. But yeah, no, it was a great place to grow up. I met a lot of really cool people, and I there still talk to this day. Haven't been home to see my family in a couple of years, which I'm upset about. But yeah, growing up, I've always enjoyed hanging out with people and things with groups and teams and bring together kind of thing.
Now, a good student?
No, far from it, actually. I never actually was that good. I went to a private school in Cape Ann, mainly because my parents had an church. And fine, everybody's entitled to their own religious things. I don't want to do that, but I personally was affiliated with the church and was attached to the church, and I really good at understanding, which is why I didn't do as well, because I was expected a lot more people, but by no means am I smart. I don't think so anymore. So I went to school there, finished that in 8th grade at school. There I was a student there either, but going from a private to a passive, that was a big paradigm shift for me, and I recognized the necessity of being able to, from different walks of life, most of which I had never experienced or heard of. So certainly an opportunity to diversify and learn a lot, and I really valued that.
So at what age? Because I know a lot of people that speak a lot of different languages, and I'm from Jersey, so Portuguese is a big language here in New Jersey. So where did you end up picking that up at?
So I actually only am very, very a barely conversational, the Brazilian dialect of Portuguese, and that's basically because a lot of our family friends are Brazilian, and there's actually a really Brazilian community in Gloucester, and they're all my friends. They're some amazing people. They throw the best part, man. I tell you what, they're great, and they start late and they end even later, and food is just absolutely perfect. So that's kind of how I I want to say fell into the culture, because I was getting into, and the people are really amazing, and I wanted to trying to learn a little bit about their culture, and I figured there's no better than the language.
And I love Portuguese food. I mean, you can't go wrong with Portuguese.
Oh, you can't. You can't beat that, man, at all.
No, not at all. So tell us about the Marine Military Academy. I thought you weren't that great in school.
No, I wasn't, which is why I had to go to this prep school, right? So Marine Military Academy, and anybody I feel like probably a couple of your listeners are familiar with it. It's the place people go to become instilled with the discipline and the rigidity of the military, as well as have a really good education. I mean, I've been able to get into any other colleges out of high school. I would have been more than to be a tradesman. I very much like working with my hands. I very like taking things back together. I like to create, build, and optimize and things like that. But yeah, I ended up going there for 1 year between 2007 and 2008 as a postgraduate. I figured, mechanical things. I like working with creative people. I figured I would try to study to become a chemical engineer. I learned very quickly out for the mathematics of engineering field whatsoever. And so I focused on some of my strengths while I was there. I worked with, social studies. I was actually in the sailing club. I was awarded Mariner of the Year. We would take out small sailboats and we would and do projects and work on restoring old sailboats and sail around the area, mainly in between the border of Mexico and Texas, north up towards the Corpus Christi area.
And then I see that you went to one of my favorite schools, SUNY. You went to SUNY.
I did.
So,
I'm a Fort Schuyler grad, and I'm very proud of it.
okay.
It's actually pretty funny that you mentioned it because while I was there, I really didn't like it. There was just more rigidity, more the same. Looking back, that's probably one of the better schools, on the Eastern Seaboard. Fortunate that I stumbled. It's a great opportunity.
So then you go to be a Marine Corps recruiter?
No, so kind of a pretty big U.S. how I became a Marine officer, right? So I was awarded a 4-year ROTC scholarship through through the Marine Corps and then the Naval ROTC program. Awarded the scholarship. I chose SUNY Maritime because it had a Navy ROTC there. It was a unit there. I'm still friends with many of them, and I really learned. And it was great opportunity. And more than any eyes to what was going to be, coming in the future. So forward, I complete OPS. Before I go to TBS, which is the basic school, which is what every Marine officer goes through period, because there was a backlog of new Marines that needed to go to TBS. So during that 10-month period, I went down to Florida. For a little while, oddly enough, but it was fun. I got to learn about area of the country, life, lead, and I think it made me a more well-rounded person. And then from when that was through, I got my call and I do the basic school up in Quantico, Virginia. I was there 6 months. I was lucky enough to do well. I don't think I did that well, but I was able to get my 4th choice out of 2. And the way that they choose your military occupational specialties is based on your list, which is based on the performance and other factors, but mainly performance.
So what did you get?
I chose communications officer at my 4th. That's the one that was awarded to me. And a communications officer, mainly we focus on implementing commanding officer to enable information flow and ultimately inform him better battlefield decisions in a timely manner. So I am far from but from single channel walkie-talkie radios all the way up to cybersecurity and Active Directory for exchanges and emails and satellite communications and everything. And my job isn't necessarily to play one. It's more to be a composer and make them all work.
Okay, so now you were a full-time Marine at the time?
Yes, sir. So my first unit was 9th Communications Battalion here with on Camp Pendleton, the 1st Missionary Force Headquarters Element. I was with them for about 3.5 years. That was my my first tour.
Now, did you deploy?
I did. It wasn't with Ninth Com. I actually got out of the military. My tour with Ninth Com because I wanted to stay local and with who is now my wife. After we got married, I missed it. You know, I really missed the boys. I missed the work with. I missed the leadership. I missed the structure. I missed the discipline. And I really missed everything, you know. So I went and of opportunity. This one that was and you know, about 3 weeks later, I was in the middle of my mobilization. About 6 later, I was on a plane heading.
Okay. Did you see any? Have any fun over there?
Actually, yeah, I did. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I got to with Force, Army, Navy, and learn how joint operations are, you know, wildly different than anything the Marine Corps offers on its own. And I tell you what, man, the one thing I learned in a joint environment is Marine Corps really likes to knock other, but there are some smart cookies in every other branch that I've ever worked with, even the Coast Guard. I mean, there's just some incredibly, you know, strong, smart, driven people in every branch. And it kind of opened my eyes to that a little bit, which was pretty fortunate.
Well, you know, I have between the two podcasts now, I've had over 200 and almost 250 interviews. And, you know, I interviewed a lot of Marines. I love Marines. I'm an Army guy, but I love Marines. And two things I love about them. Number one is they got the best uniform in the United States military, hands down. Enough said.
That's the only reason I joined, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
Also, you know, once a Marine, always a Marine. There is no ex-Marine. Then that mentality is something that I really, really respect. And I think that's one of the greatest things about the Marines, that they have that mentality. You know, once a Marine, always a Marine. And I think if a lot of us would say, you know, okay, you know, once a soldier, always a soldier. And if we kept that decorum, I think the world would be a lot better place.
Yeah, it's a great point. One of the there was that brotherhood. There was that mentality of, you know, I've never seen you before in my life. Tell me you're a Marine. You know, I'm gonna have your or what? If you're 70 or and just getting depot, you know, that mentality was very, very instrumental in me making my decision into which branch to serve.
So now you're recruiting for the Marine Corps, correct?
No, not anymore.
No.
I career did some very active with the officer out of Recruiting Station Boston, which is a subsidiary of the recruiting station in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which I believe is the for all for month and a half or so, but that was probably one of the most fun experiences of my life. I got to just meet a lot of really cool people, and a lot of those people becoming Marines that I different types of people that I got to meet were absolutely incredible.
So how many years did you do total?
So I am currently still in the reserves, and I just hit my 8 years in service on February 2020.
Well, thank you for your service, brother. I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you for yours.
Of course. So now talk to us. How did you get involved in hockey? Was that always a hockey thing? Was it something that you always loved?
So, actually, it's kind of a wild story. I'd always grown up watching, high school hockey games, played hockey every now and then, but I was always the goalie because I didn't know how to skate, and I never really hung around with the people that played hockey. I was never really athletic. But to save, I don't know, to save you and all the listeners some time and some trouble, I was in a real after a breakup with a fiance, and again, I don't want to too deep into that, but found that I needed a positive outlet instead of some really bad negative outlets. So I a friend who I had never talked to before, I reached out for help, and dude, I play hockey and meet person, but if you play hockey with me, come on night, starts at 10 o'clock, we go till midnight, and I'd love to meet you, talk with you, and just kind of get you involved in anything, right? So I was like, well, okay, I did, and so I played it, and man, it changed my life. It literally saved my life, at certain times, because having a competitive environment, having dudes that have kind of gone through the same tribulations, people to them, it was a massive help for me, and I have never looked back. I've been playing for about 4 years now, and it's everything for me right now. It's great.
So now, how you have a whole hockey league, a startup hockey league?
Yes, believe it or not, Southern California has 5 different rinks in San Diego. Well, maybe 3 or 4 after COVID. A lot of them down. So, don't quote me on that number, but surprisingly more ice hockey in Southern California than you would expect. And I play out of a rink, San Diego Arena. They're in Mira Mesa, which is a little San Diego, I suppose you'd say. The Guardians organization is an organization that I started with friends along my path, and we started in 2019. We started with people, we got together, and we started a team. And in the past 2 years, we've been able to grow from those people to close players in 6 or 7 states. Trees have 4 full-time teams that are actually really, really full. So we're looking at expanding into light one in the upcoming 2022.
And I think that's great. Now, of course, I'm from Jersey, so of course, I'm a Devils fan.
Not wrong with that. For it.
And Palmieri is one of the biggest veteran supporters that you will ever meet. So, Palmieri is probably one of the, like I said, he actually invited all the veterans down for Veterans Day and gave all free hats out and invited all veterans in the stadium for free on Veterans Day. So that's a big deal. So I love it. Now, I never grew up around hockey. My wife's a big hockey freak. She loves the Rangers. But I think it's a great sport. I'm still learning it, but I think the greatest 2 minutes in hockey, in any sport, is when it's 2-2 with 2 minutes left in a hockey game. I think it's the greatest spectacle on sports. What are your thoughts?
I would certainly agree. I would argue that while it is a fantastic opportunity to watch people really showcase their skills and abilities, I feel like I would rather a team that's down by a point or a goal. They're going to do everything that they can. They'll even pull a goalie in some instances, so that way they have 6 men on the ice and no goalie, just so they can get to a tie and then eventually, well, those together. I mean, the ties a lot. So, yeah, I think that's pretty too. Better, maybe just different. Maybe it's not a better or worse thing. Maybe it's just a, I like green kind of thing. So, but yeah.
The funny thing, I knew I was going to be talking. So me and the kids watched. Me, the wife, and the kids watched Slapshot the other night. We were like, "Wow, what a great movie!"
Yeah.
Just having fun. So, what do you think it is? Like I know that if I ever played hockey, you wouldn't even have to give me a stick. I would just be the goon. I'd be that guy that I just want to check people against the boards and fight. Don't even give me the puck. So,
Sure.
That's the way. Because anytime I play hockey with my son on our mat on not Madden, on our Xbox, I'm the guy that's always checking somebody in the boards and getting penalized for fighting. But what do you think it is that you guys are bonding over besides the military? But what about hockey? Is it a big morale booster?
It's offering. Everybody's out there. Everybody's giving 110%. Everybody dog tired of every game, and even if you don't win, right? Just out there and just got with, some of your best friends. That's something money can't.
So now I'm going to, we'll talk about some business stuff because, of course, it's a business podcast and a self podcast too. So when you were going through some of your deep, dark struggles, like I know I battled with alcoholism, drug addiction, PTSD, and a traumatic brain injury.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your coping mechanisms, and how did you start to get help from whatever you were going through?
So, yeah, I ended up drinking a lot, way more than I in, military, people in the military, I think. Corp felt in a weird way on being the person that can, drink any other branch under the table. But, I was getting to the point where it was pretty, there was about 3 weeks there that I just remember I that was my personal, rock bottom. And, I had actually gotten into a little trouble. Wasn't anything, nothing like a D thing, but we never had interactions with the law to begin with. For me, it was kind of a big deal, and kind of an eye opener. I reached out to a group on Facebook, of dudes, breathe together, and occasionally whenever somebody needs, and at the drop, do they, and to my friend Dave, and he was the guy that told me, hey, you should find something healthier, second of all, more productive, and 3, people, and something you can look forward to. And then he's like, meet at night and we'll play hockey. I got a league. It's I'll put away, and the rest is history.
Okay, so now the last 2 questions I'm going to ask everybody. I ask everybody that I talk to.
Sure.
How do we find out about this hockey league? How can we get involved? How can we buy swag? Because I'm a swag guy. I love swag.
Yeah.
So,
well,
how do we find you guys?
We're actually super this, but we just started a updated website. Still in the process, hockey.com. And if you want to get swag and stuff, we're gonna be here in stuff for our players and their families. The reason that we do that is because we haven't set up the e-commerce side of our website yet, just because the entire organization by volunteers, active duty, and common disabled veterans who, frankly, I don't want to say have other things going on, but this is a learning. It's a journey for us, right? We're still learning our way through this and how to commerce site, how we can sell. Recently, we did pre-order. We did our jerseys. Those are for our players and their families as well. And this is all swag that we expect to be able to sell on our website. Generally, there will be for the California 8%, depending on the county, which is more than people buying from other states.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, Guardians Hockey, there is, but state, drop your email to the website and we'll push out some notifications when we available. Hey, Rich, are you there? Hey, Richard.
Thank you for joining us today. Please hit subscribe and share. Please feel free to leave us a comment.